What's up, data transformers? This is Bolaji, and welcome to the Data Careers Show, the show where we watch analytics engineers, data analysts, and data scientists transform their careers. Today, we are talking to an ardent learner who never tires of upskilling himself as an analytics engineer in the data science space. You guys remember that scene from The Matrix where they plug the thing in and Keanu Reeves is like, oh, I know Kung Fu. That's this guy. Okay. He founded and leads Young Data Professional. He is a convener of the DBT Nigeria meetup, one of the fastest growing DBT communities globally. He publishes regularly on LinkedIn, whether it's his Monday data recaps or his Friday data book learnings. You follow this guy, you will level up on DBT and all things data science. Please help me welcome all the way from Lagos City, Nigeria, the analytics manager at Data Culture, Opeyemi Fabiyi. Welcome, Opeyemi.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Really. I love the energy. I love all the vibes. Thank you so much to have me on the show.
Yeah, for sure. This is a guy that we've been pursuing since I met him at the Coalesce conference last year. It was a great pleasure to hang out with Opeyemi. Yeah. I was 2 weeks on the job, so Opeyemi showed me the ropes at Coalesce, and Opeyemi actually mentors a lot of people. This is one of his core values and principles in this space. He's very big on mentoring. So we're going to want to unpack that, Opeyemi, and learn where this motivation came from. But before we do that, thank you for being here. When people sit down in the seats, we like to first start by unpacking, almost walking through their LinkedIn, walking through their resume, because we want to understand how you got here. So could you tell us your current job title, your current position?
Yeah, so my current job title is analytics manager at Data Culture. And prior to then, I was a senior analytics engineer rather at Data Culture. And then prior to then, I was a data scientist turned analytics engineer at my previous role at Carrywise, one of the leading fintech in Nigeria. And also prior to then, I was working at Deloitte as a data analytics consultant, and also at an FMCG company as a supply chain planning analyst. So you can see that I pretty much just go all about the place before finding myself in analytics engineering.
This is the interesting thing, though. I was looking at your work history, and this guy has like 35 jobs. Like, Opeyemi is not a lazy person, okay? And he's worked at some great companies, very reputable companies as well. But a lot of data analytics, a lot of data engineering, going way back. Here's the question I have. When did you first get obsessed with data? When did you first fall in love with data?
Interestingly, I know you'll have some people who say data found there. But in my own case, I would say I found data. So, it all started way back in my final year in the university. And more or less done with my final paper, and then the question then dawned on me: what next after university? Right, that's the question that came to me. And then my study partner then, while we were having a bit of conversation, was like, "Oh, it's so sharp. Somebody told him about something data analytics or data science. Have I heard it before?" I said, "No, that was like literally the first time I was hearing it." Wow. Now I left the conversation, went to research about what the hell is data analytics, data science, and then I stumbled on this Harvard Business Review article that said data science is the sexiest job in the 21st century. Trust me, reading that alone really fascinates me. Like, oh no, I really want to do this job. And then that pretty much just stirred out my motivation. I began researching what are the skills I need to learn to become a data scientist. How can I pivot to a data science? And pretty much I started coming up with roadmap on courses I need to take. And that's how the journey started. So it was more a function of I needed a skill to position me after my undergraduate, just to make me more employable, to be able to get a job. And data seems to be the things that was in high demand at that point in time. And that's pretty much how I got started in data.
Really interesting. So, by the way, electrical engineering, did you actually have any jobs in that field before pivoting to data science?
The only thing I did was an internship in an oil and gas company, and that's all the experience I had.
Wow. So here's the interesting thing. I told you guys, this guy's like Neo. Like he's like, where are the skills I need? Okay, boom. Let me start mastering them. But here's the thing though. And I'm new to the data space, right? So all of this really interests me. You have data analysts, data engineers, data scientists, even analytics engineers. And I'm always interested in how people actually choose, almost like the Harry Potter sorting hats. Are you
Yeah.
Gryffindor? Right? So how did you actually decide which path within data was going to be a fit for your personality?
So some people didn't found them in the sense that they just know this is what they want to do. Whereas there are people like myself that would have to test different waters before figuring out what exactly excites you. So when I started learning, I saw a Microsoft bootcamp course that would go from the basic to the advanced stuff. So I literally took everything. And then don't forget, I said the Harvard Business Review was pretty much saying data science. So by just saying that, data science is the sexiest job in the 21st century. So that really stared me, I want to become a data scientist because I want a sexiest job, right?
I love it.
And that was really how I got started. But over the time, I pretty much just figured out that there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of hypotheses, a lot of statistics that is so heavy in data science. So I did really enjoy it at the where. And then I dived into data analytics, which was more business facing. So I'll build a lot of report, try to understand trends and patterns. But also I realized that at some point I started getting bored, right? I'll figure out that I'll take hours just to use the right color, the right format, and all of those things. I felt I need to do more technical stuff. I want to write code. I want to build stuff. And then that was how I was able to get my previous role. And I was hired as a data scientist because that's why I was named previously. But you can't do data science without an infrastructure. So that's how I turned a data scientist who became a data engineer, analytics engineer. And and that's one of the most pivotal moments of my career. Finding and discovering analytics engineering. I enjoyed the part of building a best of two worlds where I can build stuff and also get to have a lot of conversation with stakeholders. So to summarize your question, personality differs. Some people might enjoy more of storytelling, reporting, so they'll gravitate more to data analytics, right? Why some might probably want to do a lot more technical software development kind of stuff. So you probably will see them gravitate more to the technical side of things of data engineering. And then you probably have people like myself that want best of both worlds. That want to just still in between stuff. Know a lot of analytics more than a data engineer, and also know a lot of data engineering more than a data analyst.
I love this. Oh, that's such a good definition as well, because I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the difference, where analytics engineers sit between data analysts and data engineers. I think you categorize it very well.
Yeah.
So, as an analytics manager now, could you kind of walk us through your day-to-day? What do you do on a regular basis, and how much of your work is maintenance work versus building brand new features for your stakeholders, or even troubleshooting pipelines and models?
Yes. So because I work in a data consulting firm, the dynamics changes compared to for anyone in the audience who work for an internal organization, right? So in my own case, because most of the projects I work with are client-based, so that means there's a scope of what I want to do for the client. Maybe in an instance where I'm functioning as a fractional data team to set up a data infrastructure ground up. So some of my day-to-day can just be setting up meetings to have conversation to understand what are the business needs, what are the business requirements. Some days would just be translating those business requirements into architectural designs and data model design, and then we then go and present it back. And some days could then be proper hands-on when I'm writing a lot of DBT models, writing a lot of codes and all of those things. So, but in my previous role where I was more as an internal data person, my day-to-day most times is like, oh, you have an ad hoc request from a stakeholder, either from the marketing team or the finance team. Oh, I need this particular number. I'm trying to prepare a report. Can you help me get this? You go ahead and do that. So you have all of those ad hoc requests every now and then. Most of the time, you ad hoc requests here and there, empowering and supporting different departments to help them get more insight into how their business process is going.
Right. That makes sense. And I had to laugh when you talked about ad hoc requests. Although I don't like that you use marketing as the very first example of people sending ad hoc requests. Warn yourself, that's your first one.
I guess because I interact a lot with them, and I know how amazing they are. How amazing!
Right. Very amazing. Very amazing. Yes. That's cool. And so I love that you worked both in consulting as well as on an internal data team. A lot of the people listening might work on internal data teams. maybe you could paint the picture for us in terms of team setup. When you're working on an internal data team, what did your team look like? And then maybe what does it look like now at a consultancy?
Okay, so in my previous role, interestingly, I was hired as I was the only solo data scientist, and there was literally no infrastructure for me to even build any machine learning solution. So I had to build infrastructure ground up. In that instance, building that infrastructure was like the major project I was doing. Now, after the infrastructure was completed, my day-to-day most times would just be more of ad hoc requests. It's more or less around trying to balance a lot of priorities because I will get tons of ad hoc requests across the organization, across different departments. So now a question of balancing which of the requests is most important and most impactful, and then try to also understand why a particular request was requested for in the first place. So that's what most of the engineers might do in an internal data team. From a consulting side of things, the data team would be based on the different project that you're on, and that would also define how your day-to-day is going to look like. Day-to-day sometimes can just be more of meetings, storming ideas, completing business requirements into solution design, and some days can just be writing of codes.
This is really interesting, and it strikes me awkward that certain personalities, certain of us, might like that variety that you're experiencing working at a consultancy, no opportunity to get bored. But then on the other hand, there are those of us who really love the opportunity to go deep on a single project and go all the way from ideation to execution. For example, I was talking with one of our colleagues, Christophe Houdard, in France. He also was recognized as a community spotlight member, just like you yourself were. And he was saying that sometimes over his career, he would feel some kind of way about code that he had developed that he now had to pass on to someone else. So when he moved on to the next project, it felt like his baby at times. So I wonder what your take is in terms of whether you prefer the variety from week to week, or if you like to go deep and execute an entire project.
In all honesty, you are right. It's all dependent on individual personality. Not saying that I'm the kind of person that may get bored easily if I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Now, I would enjoy the thrill of starting a new thing. So let's assume, even if I'm working on an internal data team and there's a new project, right, that we need to do, say, for the next 3 to 6 months, trust me, the thrill will come because, I want to do new stuff. I want to learn because it comes with new learning and all. But the moment that phase is over and it's more or less now steadiness, like, we are just trying to maintain things, a lot of questions, a lot of ad hoc reports, becomes also more routine to me. And in that case, it's almost like I'm not learning anything again. And I get bored. And that's why I enjoy consulting a lot, because consulting gives me that thrill every now and then, because I know in the next 3 to 4 months, I'm working on a new project that comes with new variety, new business process for me to understand, a new data model for me to brainstorm. So that way, I know I'm not bored at every point in time. So yes, based on personality, even though it has its own cons too, because there's a lot of urgency that comes with it. People may not necessarily like that. So it's all based on personality.
This is helpful. There's something to be said for being able to find the right fit job for you. Not even just job, but even company environment. And some of us, it takes us several tries before we find that right environment. So I think you're painting a picture here that's going to be instructive for a lot of people. Having said that, we're going to move on to the next stage of the conversation. We call this stage data disasters. Right now, Opeyemi is looking like Superman. We want to hear the real deal. We want to hear some of those struggles. And so, could you share like a really difficult technical problem that you've encountered over your career? Really challenging one, and maybe how you approached it.
I would say there are like 2 of them. The first one was in my previous role, where I was hired as a data scientist. I'm as a data scientist, all I do is there's already infrastructure in place for me to build my machine learning model. And then coming in, having to do that, and there's no infrastructure, I have to build infrastructure ground up. So at that point in time, I didn't know anything called analytics engineering, right? Imagine getting hired for the first time and you have expectations, right, of you. You know how that could be. There's a lot of the pressure that comes with you getting hired, and there's an expectation, and you're like, I'm dumb, I don't know what I need to do, there's no infrastructure in place. So I have to start reaching out to a lot of people, start researching, start figuring out what I need to do. And that's what led me to stumble on this Tristan article on modern data stack. And trust me, that was like, what opened up the world to me. That's how I stumbled on DBT community and got all my question answered. And that's pretty much how I was able to navigate it. So what helped me was just leverage community. I guess that also explains why I'm so passionate about community. So asking a lot of questions, because I didn't have a data team. So the community became my data team. I had to ask a lot of questions. At every point in time, I'm stuck. I would ask questions. People would help unblock me, help me to navigate that phase and transition into what I'm doing now. Now, the second top project I worked on was actually like also we needed to build more or less like a recommendation engine for a marketing campaign. So imagine a company that probably want to churn out a campaign and they want to do it more or less like a targeted one where they can recommend a particular product to different customers that they have, right? The organization is a two-shop store for us. So you have individuals that can come into the platform to see available openings. And then you have companies now open up openings for different individuals to see openings that are available. Now, it was very challenging before because that's like my first introduction into a proper marketing ad campaign. Understanding the dynamic that goes in how do you prepare a marketing campaign. That's probably my first introduction into HubSpot. It was more like, yes, I understand data, I understand DBT modeling, but not just modeling data. I need to understand the business, how the campaign will be built. What are the features that need to go into the content of the campaign? And most importantly, the marketing campaign tool that I'll be leveraging, which was HubSpot. So it was having to move from my comfort zone of, now you need to wear the cap of a marketer to understand their tool, the nitty-gritty of how HubSpot works, and how to prepare the data in a format that will be acceptable by HubSpot. That stretched me to take my time to understand the tool, the technology itself, but not only that, also take time to understand how a marketer thinks, or what are the things that go into you preparing the email templates that will be pushed out, right? So understanding that workflow, and also most importantly, understanding attribution. How do I know whether the solution I built actually convert or not? So having to start from the data infrastructure, modeling all the data, not only doing that, now doing the attribution side of things to see if what we've done actually work well. Doing those things, it was really challenging, thinking through how the data model would be, and more or less how to integrate that into the marketing technology.
Wow. I love this. Okay, so let me just share. People to be able to relate to the difficulty of what we're sharing here. I was listening to a podcast just today, a marketing podcast, and these two marketers were commenting about how marketing is not a linear and logical process because we're dealing with human beings.
Yep.
And despite what we like to think about ourselves, we are the most illogical creatures. We apply logic, but we apply emotion much more than we care to admit. And so for marketers, we are almost like the anthropologists of the business world. We study human behavior. We try to shape and mold. And it's very difficult because humans are unpredictable. So where you coming from the world of pipelines and models and SQL and everything is logical to trying to predict what these humans are going to do and how they're going to react. That's like a foreign language.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to that because there's a lot of hypothesis and testing that comes into it. Sometimes you can say, well, let's adjust this variable and then see how it's going to perform based on this next rollout. So getting to see how those workflow impact whatever thing I'm doing was so fascinating.
I love this. And it strikes me that a lot of the things that have allowed you to have success probably require a high amount of emotional intelligence. And many of us who come from a technical background either just naturally had high IQ or we learned to develop those skills on the high IQ side. But the skills on the emotional intelligence side don't necessarily come that easily for a lot of us. I'd be interested in whether this is something that you just were naturally always good with, having empathy for stakeholders and communicating with people who have different viewpoints, or if you had to build that skill.
That's it. The advantage I had was my experience working at Deloitte Consulting. Working at Deloitte gave me that empathy, knowing that for every project you work on, you would have to interface with stakeholders just to understand what exactly do you want to build it for them and why do they need those those solutions that you made. Much easier for me to navigate that challenge I faced in my previous role where I was the only data person. So yes, it was my first time into the world of IT engineering, but as a result of my previous soft skills and EQ that I've learned, I was able to manage my stakeholder well. I was able to explain the situation of things with them that, hey, this is what is happening. You hired me as a data scientist, but trust me, there's nothing I can do with data science here with the reality of things. You actually need a data engineer, even though, yes, I'm happy to take on this particular role just to upskill and get the job done, but just to set expectation, let them know that, oh, this is going to take me X amount of months for me to get all of this thing done because you hired me and you want to get value. So I actually let you know why it's going to be very difficult for you not to get value immediately.
Okay. I love that. So, one thing that I do want to ask, and then I want to flip to talking about some of your successes on the job and talk about some of the great things you've done with the community. But hold that thought for a quick minute. One thing I want to talk about, you talked about dealing with a lot of ad hoc requests in that position as a data scientist. And I'm always interested in how people manage burnout or stress when they're under tight deadlines or they have conflicting priorities coming in.
Yeah, it's almost like stress and burnout at some point in time would be inevitable, right? In my previous role and even my current role, there are periods where I'm trying to survive. What has helped me over the years is one, learning to prioritize. Learning to prioritize each of my tasks based on the impacts kind of help out. And most importantly is communication, right? As much as possible, I try to communicate early enough when I feel like, oh, I probably won't be able to make this particular deadline. So it's in order not to burn myself out trying to juggle all of those deadlines, I just would communicate to my boss, oh, this is the situation. I probably would have to extend the deadline probably by a week.
Wise words. Wise words. It's amazing how productive we can be on a regular basis when we find a steady pace. But for anybody who's ever hit the wall, anyone who's ever burned out, sometimes if you let yourself get to that burnout, it can take more than that one day now to recharge. It could take you a week. It could take you more than that. Okay. So I like what you shared here. Okay, I'd love to talk about some of your successes in the data world. Could you tell us about the story of a project you're proud of?
So two of the projects, I talked about the rule-based recommendation one. Yeah, so at the end of the project, seeing how the conversion turned out was fascinating. And then about 50% conversion rate based on the solution that was implemented. Seeing that impact was so refreshing for me. And also my previous role, having to set up the infrastructure ground up as a solo data team of one, it was really exciting for me. Now, I remember before I joined, our report would take 5-10 minutes. Some of them we won't time out, like you will not see the result. Now, by the time I was done with the infrastructure, the dashboard would refresh in less than 3 seconds. And I remember my CEO messaging me one day and he was so excited with a fire emoji. This is awesome. So you know how that feel, how that feel if your CEO reach out and let you know that, oh yes, I'm so excited what you've done. And yes, and also as a consultant, most of the success are offering when I do my job at the end of every project, seeing a client excited, knowing that they were at ground zero when you started with them 3 months, 6 months ago. And now they are well enabled to do their own job well. Also bring joy knowing that, yes, I want to do more of this stuff.
No, that's nice. That's nice. I love that. I love it. I love those success stories I love the reaction from the CEO when the clients or the stakeholders give you that positive reinforcement. That definitely feels good. I'd be interested in how you tend to measure the impact of your work on the business or the organization.
Yeah, I was reading an article yesterday on LinkedIn around how that it's very difficult for data team to quantify the value that they offer, right?
Oh, wow.
What has been helpful for us, and also from a consulting perspective, is the fact that knowing that every client that comes around always have a problem that they're trying to solve, right? It's very specific. That's a very clear goal. So by the time we implement that and that's completed, knowing that yes, they were able to do this previously, now they can do this, it's almost like a thumbs up for us. And also most importantly, might just be empowering time to value, empowering the stakeholder to do what they were unable to do previously. So it's a case where maybe previously they would have to stitch together multiple reports here and there manually, but now just at a click, they're able to get the reports that they need, become value adding to them.
That's helpful. So I'd like to ask personally, what professional success looks like to you in this field?
Two things. One, I'm growing in my career. And secondly, I'm helping people to grow in their career in the data space. And that's why everything I'm doing get intertwined in terms of my career and also community driven, because it's as a result of the community I'm able to achieve the second aspect of what success to me. That fulfillment, seeing someone say, oh, I got my current job, I'm thriving my career as a result of Opey's input or Opey's support, that can give me a bit of joy and motivation.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that. Well, with that in mind, I'd love to ask about key mentors or influences on your journey. You've certainly taken a very active role in helping other people get their start in data science. Is there anyone who was really instrumental to you during your career thus far?
So thus far, I've had indirect mentors, probably my boss, all the different companies I've worked on. In a way, they believe so much in me, even more than I believe in myself. They will put me on projects that I would think I won't be able to do, but they trust my ability to be able to do the job. And at the end of the day, I'm able to do it. I've been fortunate enough to have amazing boss. Shout outs to all the great bosses that I've had. My current role at the culture, Selena, Neil, and my previous role, Jania Kwechimi. So shout out to all of them. So it's like I have my bosses as indirect mentors where I could at any point in time ask clarifying questions around my career, how to navigate my career, and most importantly, resources I can leverage to upskill myself in any area I'm looking to upskill. So I've had the opportunity such that when I ask any of them question, I get the clarity I need to navigate the course of my career. So my bosses, as well as all the indirect mentors I follow on LinkedIn, even though I probably don't talk to them at any point in time, but just reading their articles, reading all the insightful nuggets that they share every now and then, just help me get a bit of perspective and areas I need to navigate my career.
Yeah, that's really valuable, because the thing about mentors is that they actually, I feel like they have to be a good fit between the mentor and the mentee. And you're not always lucky to find that early in your career, but you've been very proactive and looking for those indirect mentors, people who are sharing knowledge publicly, and you're just tapping into that.
Exactly.
This is good. So for someone who's aspiring to follow in your footsteps, whether they want to be a data scientist or analytics engineer, data engineer, what would you advise? What are some things, either some skills you would advise that they start to pick up, or some approaches that they should take?
First thing I used to tell everyone is start with the fundamental. So the fundamental would cut across all the different aspects of data. So irrespective of the space you want to play in, analytics engineering have the fundamental skill set that is required. Data science have the fundamental skill that is required. So first, understand the space you want to play in, right? And that might be dependent either on your interest, your personality. The next is identifying fundamental skill set that you need to learn. The next thing is learning beyond the tool, which I wish I knew that earlier on. And that's pretty much learning as much as possible a lot of the business concept that is required, depending on the domain that you are in, because you're always trying to leverage the tool to solve a problem. The tool is only as powerful as you solving an actual problem. So you want to think beyond the tool. So it's a case of understand, what does revenue mean? How does revenue vary across a particular industry? So having those mindsets and starting to think along that line, and probably now working on projects that help you flex that muscle, it's a good one to have. The next thing, once you have that, is getting involved in community. You can either be following different people that are in the space, or even be actively involved in community, because a lot of jobs referral are very important. I listened to a podcast of recent by Setu the other guy, and the podcast was pretty much how to move from a junior to C-suite or head of data. One of the things that was buttressing that podcast is don't go alone. Build genuine relationship, build authentic relationship. Avoiding building relationship is you finding ways to limit your own career. And I think it was very vital to me. So one of the easiest ways to build relationship is community, is meetup. When you go to meetup, as you go to meetup regularly, you get to meet people, you're building genuine relationship with people. Once you do that, it makes it easy for you to grow and organically navigate the course of your career.
Yeah. Man, that's exciting. And I imagine that lots of different technologies have communities that have sprung up. Certainly, DBT being an open source technology, it has a very vibrant community. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how you started up the DBT meetup in Lagos itself?
But yeah, DBT is really amazing. One thing I love about DBT, the fact that it's people driven. I've started out as community. My introduction to DBT, my previous role, after I did the research and I stumbled on that article and I joined the community, it was so fascinating seeing a lot of people answering questions. I would drop a question, somebody will answer. It was really intriguing for me. And personally, as much as possible, any new information that I discover, I want to carry everybody along. It's just my personality. So if I discover anything new, trust me, my community would know about it. So I didn't realize that there were a lot of meetups that would happen. And I didn't see anyone in Africa at all. So I reached out to the director of meetup then. They're like, oh, I would love to start a meetup in Nigeria. And I was like, oh yeah, go for it. Within a couple of weeks, I wrote an article on LinkedIn for speakers. I reached out to a couple of friends to see how we can organize it. And boom, it was really, really amazing. I think the first one we had about like 300. That Giovanni came. Yeah, Giovanni was one of the guest speakers. He was also very shocked. He didn't expect the turnout that we had for the first meetup at all. So, and ever since then, seeing how supportive the DBT community has been, has also helped me, has also fueled my passion to continue to do more. And also leveraging all the support system I had in terms of the team members I have in the meetup. So I have the organizing team that help out in facilitating a lot of things. So that's just been something that's really been instrumental for me. Not just we using the tool alone, but also letting other people be aware of how their data career can be transformed just by access to the right information and access to the right tool.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And I didn't know Drew, one of the co-founders of DBT Labs, actually came to the first Lagos meetup.
Yeah, he did. He joined.
That's amazing. That's very cool. That's very cool. Last question. What are your data aspirations? So where do you see yourself career-wise in about 5 years?
Career-wise, in the next 5 years, I see myself leading data team and also driving data strategy and data initiative at different organizations. So which means the next 5 years, I probably would be a chief data officer or head of data in one organization where I'm much more involved in not just technical side of things, but more strategic, driven conversation relating to data. More or less, I want to be a data thought leader someday.
I love it. Folks, we've been talking to Opeyemi Fabiyi. He is the Neo of the data world. Plug in any skill, he will master it. He founded and leads Young Data Professional. He's the convener of the DBT Nigeria meetup in Lagos. This guy is going places. Be sure to follow him on LinkedIn. Opey, thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bolaji. I'm really excited and I'm super pumped to have this conversation. And it's been an amazing conversation with you. I enjoyed it.
Fantastic. I tell you what, well, 10 years from now, this podcast episode, people are going to be watching it as Opey is running something probably for the country of Nigeria. So it'd be like the data czar. Is that a thing? We might have to make it a thing. Just for Opey. Opey Fabiyi from Data Culture. Thank you for being here, my friend. We'll see you all
so much
on the next episode of the Data Career Show. Bye for now.
This show is brought to you by DBT. DBT is the industry standard for data transformation. It allows your team to prepare data for analysis in a way that's centralized, modular, and entirely open, all inside your cloud data platform. The outcome? Consistently dependable analytics for your organization. Now, the DBT community was built for and by data pros. Come hang out and transform with 70,000 of the brightest analytics engineers, data analysts, and data scientists in the world. With DBT, you transform your data. With the DBT community, you transform your data career.